everybody, and welcome to this exobiology guide. We're going to talk about pretty much everything you can do to help you make a couple billion doing some exobiology. So, the first things first, the absolute necessities are Odyssey. You need the DLC to do this, as well as a exobiology suit. All right, now that we've made our way to Pioneer
How'd you feel about getting
Supplies,
some target practice?
So what are you after
see
today? Sure, take
that.
a look around.
Go to purchase suits, and you'll have the Artemis suit, $150,000 for the grade 1. This is perfectly fine, and will get the job done. The most important thing here is having the genetic sampler. If that is what you're looking for, that allows you to scan bio and actually get money from it. All right, now that we have the suit, ship choice. Generally, you're going to want something small with a very high jump range. I recommend the DBX or the Dolphin as my primary two. The S Scout does also work. The main benefit of the DBX is that it's relatively cheap, and you can get it a lot of places. The Dolphin is really good because it runs cold, meaning that once you're scooping for fuel on a star, you can also charge a jump. Now, when you're outfitting a ship, I actually do need to even make changes to mine. Generally, you're going to run 0 hardpoints. I recommend at least 1 heatsink launcher, just in case you get a little bit too hot at a star. And then I A-rated almost everything. I actually need to replace this. And if you A-rate everything, get a really good frame shift drive and thrusters, you can not only move pretty quick, you can also have really good jump range, as that's what you're mostly prioritizing. Optional internals, I'd run a shield gen. Sometimes on higher G planets, you can kind of hit the ground a little bit hard, so you want to have something that is a bit better at tanking stuff like that. I've never had a whole lot of issues with it, except one time, and that one time is the time you generally learn pretty well. Now, I am using a Guardian Frame Shift booster. This is a class 4. If you don't have access to these, perfectly fine. You do not need these, as well as you don't need engineering to do any part of exobiology. You can get away with it just fine. I did all my stuff on a 30 light year jump DBX, which is just this without the frame shift booster, and made about 5 million in 6 days-ish. I'd also recommend getting a relatively high fuel scoop. I sacrificed the 4A for the booster, but I'd recommend going with a 4A. Just saves you a little bit of time getting fuel off stars. Cargo rack as well. You do want to be picking up materials if you come across any. I did come across some Thargoid materials out there on ammonia-based worlds, and it was nice to be able to pick those up. And then you'll also 100% need a detailed surface scanner. This is going to allow you to be able to see which planets have bio, or more likely where the bio is located on the surface of the planet. Assists are optional. The Super Cruise Assist is kind of nice if you just kind of want to AFK and go grab something real fast. And then this one comes by default. You can put an SRV. I don't generally recommend running an SRV purely because when you're on the surface of a planet, it's just faster and more efficient to be flying on your ship than to be getting out of the vehicle, out of the ship in the SRV, drive over to the location, get out of the SRV, get back in. It's just quicker to fly around in your ship. Where do you go? There are a couple options here. The first, and honestly, if you're very new to this, what I recommend is going to spanch.co.uk and going to their, under Route Planners, Expressway to Exomastery. This is actually an old result that I had. This is my certain system in Yakabugai. You put your range in here, your radius of how big of a loop you want to do, and the maximum systems, and then you can click loop here. You can set these values, so minimum bioscan value, as well as the distance to the body, in case you don't want to go like 300 light seconds, which I don't blame you. Even with SEO, not that fun. The thing about this, cool thing, you can check these off. So let's say you finish all these, you can check them off. It shows the value of each. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it'll tell you how much you're making off of it. 3 billion is pretty good, but I will say 102 systems of landing is going to take a couple days. Additionally, you are losing off of the first discovery bonus, but if you're just starting off, want to learn planetary landings, want to learn the basics, you can do a couple of these systems, get used to it, and then make a decision if you want to go further out. If you are going further out, I'd recommend using the neutron plotter. Sometimes it takes a couple more jumps, sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's not, based on your range and then where you're going, of course. That also implies that you know where you're going, which is a whole other thing we'll talk about. All right, so let's say you want to go outside the bubble. You don't want to go and use the exobiology, expressway at exobiology. You just want to go find all the new stuff. You want to find that fancy first discovery bonus. Where should you go? Well, generally, if we take basically Sagittae or Beagle Point as north, and then southwest, east, I recommend going most likely northeast. If you go northwest, you might encounter people trying to go to Colonia. Southeast is most likely going to be people going to Guardian sites. West, you can go west, or southwest is also a good option, but you're going to have to run around Thargoids to get there. So currently, if you break out northwest, you can find some good stuff. North, like this direct line straight to Sagittae, is completely saturated. You won't find a whole lot of systems that haven't been already discovered. But what I recommend doing is kind of what I'm doing right now, is just go way out here and then zoom in. If my mouse doesn't like to scroll, but zoom in and then just pick something and plot a route to it. Yeah, it's super far out there, but you'll make a good amount of money purely off cartography. And that's quite a few jumps. But honestly, it might be worth it. For getting back, I don't recommend going straight back because you're probably going to hit the same amount of stuff. I recommend doing some sort of loop. Best thing to do would be, on this one, come down like about halfway and then plot it back. You can also change your orbital plane, and I recommend doing that as well. Either going straight up or straight down at some points can be helpful too, because not a lot of people are really going to bother doing that like I just did. Just go out here and plot a spot and then go to it. But that should get you a pretty decent results. It's pretty much luck of the draw based on what you find. But as you can see here, I have a ton of bookmarks going straight out, and I went pretty similarly up here, came back down here, and then went straight back into the bubble there. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea, but just kind of send it and see what happens. It's a good time going out in the black and exploring stuff. You'll see some cool stuff hopefully, and just enjoy the time alone. Embrace the space madness. I recommend. Let's talk about finding systems that are more likely to have bio than not. So when you're inside the map here, you're going to head over to the Pilots Federation and go to star type. Generally, I have found the most profitable star types being the AFGK stars. I do also throw on some of these random ones because, hey, if you're out in the black, sometimes it's fun to find stuff and go exploring a little bit. But if you filter it down to the AFGK stars, you can get generally some good bio. You can also get the Stratum Technicanus, which is the most common and most profitable which is the most profitable and most common one that you'll be finding, with Fonticule Fluctus not being super common. It's better to just go for Stratum. You'll also sometimes find that on the Class T stars, but it's usually a secondary star to something like a K or even an M. If you want, you can always just set this to the scoopable stars, which I remember based off KGB foam, which includes right there. So this allows you to have every single scoopable star type, and you might take more jumps, you might have to spend more time, and your chances of finding something might be slightly lower based on the amount of jumps you're doing, but ultimately not a huge deal. Now, you'll see these colored dots. This corresponds to star type. I usually like checking the A's, and then pretty much anything. A's, M's, whatever you really want, in a particular path. All right, once you've found your system, whether happening upon it or finding it off something like Spanish Expressway to ExoMastery result, once you're here, go ahead and Discovery Scanner and FSS the system. I've already FSS this system, so we won't really be looking at it. But what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the system map. Okay, so the different types of bodies. Luckily, this system has all of them. We're going to go over here, and if you ignore the little like three rectangles here, that just means there's humans on it. When you're out in deep space, obviously they're not going to be there. Otherwise, you manage to happen your way over to Colonia. All right, this half circle here means it has an atmosphere and is landable. But because there's no atmosphere, bio is not going to spawn on these planets. Therefore, the other planet type, these, which has a full semi-translucent circle around it, has an atmosphere, but it doesn't have that half circle, meaning it's not landable. Then you get to these. These have both the semi-translucent circle around it and the half circle, meaning that they are both landable and have a chance at having life. And also, if we go over here, I've already kind of scouted the system. You can see that this is a high metal content world. These are 100% what you're really going to be looking for. Okay, so if we go over to this planetary information tab, it will actually tell us the information about the planet. Atmosphere type, this is helpful generally. Mostly looking at all high metals, but if you are out there and you want to get some stuff on all the types, icy are really the only ones I check for this. Most of the common ones are going to be neon and argon. They're both garbage. You get about 4 million, 5 million-ish. Not worth it. Oxygen and water are the best for icy bodies in terms of atmosphere. Otherwise, you don't really have to look at that for most of the other bodies. You just simply look at the biological. So this one has 2. This one also has 2 human. So we're going to head over to this. An important thing to note, when you're looking at systems in the system map, they'll often have the first discovered here on the top where the map is, and the map will be below it. And this basically just means somebody has already been here, did a full spectrum scan, so the FSS scan, and then sold the data. First mapped will be below it. This means somebody went over to it and used the DSS scanner and then sold that data. And then there's also a third one that says first footfall. Now, the reason this one isn't here is because there are humans here. There is a settlement here. There's structures here, meaning that doesn't have it. But when you're out in the black, if it's not there, that means that somebody has not stepped foot on that planet yet. You don't need to sell any data for that. It happens once you walk around a little bit on it. So, why is this important? Well, I've been talking about throughout this entire tutorial a little bit about, or mentioning, the first discovery bonus for exobiology data. In my opinion, yes, you can go do an Expressway to ExoMastery result, and you can scroll down and see super high number, but you're going to take a lot longer time scanning everything than if you just simply went out and looked for stuff in the black. Yep, it's a little bit more of a toss-up. You can sometimes get systems with nothing. You can get some duds. It takes longer to find stuff, but I mean, if I've got 4 planets, all with Stratum Tentaconus, I can go find one out in the black and covers all 4 of those. That's why it is a little bit more worth it, in my opinion, to only look for stuff that doesn't have that first footfall outside of the bubble. But we're going to head over to this one. It's going to be a bit, so I'll come back to you once I'm there. Alright, well, after a long little trip, we've made it to this planet. So, as we get close, we're going to be looking for that surface scanner icon to go from out of range to too fast. It'll most likely happen right as that yellow, like, 3/4 circle gets to be about where the planet is, like the very outside of it. Right about, yeah, right there. We're going to get a little closer, just because it's easier to see my progress of the mapping. Alright, so this is a 4 probe. I can see that by the efficiency target in the right. There's mostly 2, 4, 6, and then there's occasionally 7. But for the main ones, the concept is basically the same. you have the white circle in the middle of the planet, and as I pull farther, it either says miss or gives me a line, and that has that hash in the middle. With a 2 probes for the efficiency target, all you're going to do is shoot 1 at the center, and then go about like right here and shoot 1. It's going to loop around and hit the back of the planet. For a 4, we're going to make a plus sign like this, and it'll hit the every part of it and hit 100% without having to shoot one at the middle. For a 6, all you're going to do is combine the 2 and the 4. So for this one, just 1, 2, 3, 4. Those will fly and impact the surface, and to be a percent, once it hits 100, you know, you can see the mapping.
Surface scanned by 50%.
Alright, so we have 100%, and we can hit through these, and we have 3 options. So the first option is Bacterium. I generally don't recommend picking this up, like I've said a couple times before. It's pretty bad unless you get pretty lucky. Stratum, this is what we're going to be looking at, and then all combines the 2 others. So as we fly closer, you can see that there's spots that don't have any color on them. This will change. The stratum and the bacterium are pretty similar, but something like a rocky body, it'll change. Sometimes there's like barely any blue spots on the surface. So you need to look for those and land inside of that area. It is a good idea to go up to this and cycle between the 2, and if there's any differences, trying to find spots that overlap, it'll make your finding stuff a little bit easier and make it so that you don't have to go all the way back out to outside the atmosphere to then get another map to know where to go to the next spot to find the next amount of stuff. As we're flying closer, what you can do is you can switch your mode into combat mode. What this does is get rid of that blue. It can help you land a little bit easier. As all of these biosigns, not only do they have this sort of the mapping color, but they also do generally spawn in different areas. So stratum, bacterium, and toxic are generally going to be in flatter areas. Something like Cactoidea or Oasis or Frutexa are generally going to be in more rocky, more mountainous areas. So if you go to this sort of view, you can kind of get a good gauge. So where I'm heading right now is at a little crater, also a pretty good spot for really a lot of bio. Now, when you are doing this, you do want to try to find spots that are the most light blue-green color with the least amount of texture, so the smoothest kind of like single color possible. This isn't a great example of it, but that just means that it's going to have the highest amount of density of that particular bio that you're looking at in that area. Anything darker colored or super bright blue isn't going to be as good as the blue-green color. So we're going to approach the surface, and I recommend, especially if it's your first time doing it, equipping your comm scanner. It's also located on your ship by default, so just equip it to another fire group. As you get close to something like this, you can scan it with your comm scanner, and it'll tell you, if it doesn't do that, alright, it'll tell you what you're looking at, Bacterium Cerberus. So what you can do is you can pull up a price sheet if you want and track to see how much money it is to see if you want to scan it. This is always what Stratum Tentacosta is going to look like, pretty patterned, kind of has that marbling in it, as well as splotches of color with different small differences in shade. Alright, so we're going to land here. I also recommend using the, you can look up like elite flora guides and get pictures of everything if you want to study them. Alright, so we have our exobiology suit, the Artemis suit, equipped, so we're going to disembark. It is helpful to land a little bit past the bio, so you can just turn around right here. Alright, so you have your, your guns, everything else. If you go and hit number 5, we'll pull up your genetic sampler. Right-clicking sends it a pulse wave. This pulse wave illuminates stuff green. That means you can scan it. So we're going to scan this quick. Alright, so we have partial sample obtained 1 of 3. That means we need to pick up 2 more. Now, if we walk over to this one and go to try to scan this one and right-click, it is blue. This means that it does not have a good enough genetic diversity for you to scan it. Alright, so we'll get back on, but I want to show you the third possible color. that isn't part of like any sort of visual glitches. This is purple. Basically what this means is that we've already started scanning a different type of bio, and it'll get rid of the partial scan that we already have to take this other one. You can check the progress if you forget by the canister is slowly lighting up. It'll be 3 chunks. We're currently at 1 on the gun itself. All right, so at this point you can, drop out an SRV, drive around to the next bio site, but what I recommend doing, staying low with your landing gear down and using vertical thrust to keep yourself at about a 45-degree angle. You can affect how high you are, and just in case you want to get a little further away, you can get a better field of view, and then you fly over to the next bio signal, hop out again, and do this one more time after this one. All right, so well, we didn't go far enough. JK, we did. So this is actually a cool thing to see, is the difference between the colors. We'll stand like right here. All right, yeah. So each has a different length that you can go before it becomes available for you to pick up again. Stratum is 500. You have some that are 100 and some that are even up to 800. You can always check to see what it is. I'll put a link in the description for all the information about all the different biotypes, as well as some helpful tools that I've used before. I'll go through them at the very end as well. Alright, so now we need to go pick up one more, and then we have scanned the bio from this planet. We will get our one that we can actually redeem, and I'll go show you redeeming it as well. This one's going to be a little bit too close. You can always, overestimate. Don't go too far. I mean, obviously you're in a ship, you're moving relatively quickly. This clump should be good. But you can always go farther if you don't want to hop in and out as much, especially if you have are playing on a hard drive or just a slower PC. It can be a little bit time consuming. All right, here's our last sample. Once we do this, we'll be able to get that bio. Wait for this animation to finish before getting back in the ship. So now it says in the top right, sample complete and data obtained. That means you can go and sell this stuff for about 19 million credits per. All right, so we're gonna plot our way back to my home, my carrier. You can redeem this at carriers that have the, there we go. You can redeem this at carriers that have the option, the Vista Genomics option. Otherwise, you can do this at, I think, every station. All right, another helpful tip here. If you go back into the system map, back and click the planet you're at, you can click this organic information and it'll tell you which ones that you have gotten, as well as who first logged it. So if I, let's say logged off for the night, came back and forgot which organics I had already gotten, you can click here and check to see what you have. Additionally, if this is blank, that means you're the first person to discover it, but that should have been denoted by the first footfall. There's a chance somebody, though, did touch down, didn't scan anything, so if you do by happenstance go there, it might still say that, but I wouldn't bank anything really on that. All right, now that we have made it back to the carrier, let's talk about getting your redemption stuff of all the stuff you made. So, you're going to have your cartography data. Don't forget about this stuff. You can actually make a really, really good amount of money doing this. I hopped to a couple different systems, made 114K. But in my trip that I did, my biggest one, I made around 83 million after hitting a total of 469 systems. And if you're the first discovery, you can also make pretty good money too. I made $1.6 million purely off being the first person to FSS a system. So it's pretty good amount of money. Additionally, you can get codex packages for scanning data on my carrier, 25% fee. But on that, I think I made around like 100 or like 1.2 million. Not great, but also nothing to really scoff at. For expected like profits from this, it completely varies based on where you're going. If you want something that's guaranteed, I recommend either using kind of a Excel spreadsheet to track prices, and you can have it multiply based on if you're the first person to discover it. Otherwise, using one of the Spanch exobiology guides or routes is also a good option. Head over to our genomics guy. We should be making about 19 million off this. What, 19,010,080, I think, is the exact amount of money from Mr. Tentaconus, if I'm not incorrect. Alright, if you head to Avista Genomics.
You wish to contribute to Vista? Our researchers always welcome fresh data.
Yeah, so we have one system here. If you hit the sell page, you'll get the money. If you're the first person to discover it, your total is going to look way lower than what it actually is. I had one of them that said like 350 million, but then when I actually sold it, it jumped up to like way higher than that, because that is just purely based off of it without the first discoveries.
Thank you for your contribution to our research.
The first discovery will happen after you hit that sell page button, and it'll tell you your complete total. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. Once you've sold your data, you're good to go. You've made your money, and you can either go out and do more or not. It roughly takes it's not the fastest way of getting money, but it is a great way to see the galaxy, a great way to explore, and also one of the, if not the most sustainable way to make a good amount of money. In my 6 days of going out in the black with my DBX, I made around 4.5 to 5 billion credits. I was playing a good amount during that time, but you know, your pace will definitely vary. But that's pretty much it for the bio itself. Talking about tools now. Spanch is a great tool. One of the best for just doing stuff inside the bubble, but I've got a couple more for you. Bioforge.canon.tech is also a great, useful tool. Here you can either enter a name like, just the bacterium itself, or I think I spelled that right. I didn't. Yes, I did. Or something more specific like Stratum Tentaconus. Here it'll list out where in the galaxy by sector it can appear, as well as the atmospheric type. So if you really want to micromanage, which I honestly do recommend doing a little bit of, because you'll end up making significantly more money than if you just chase every single biosignal. It'll tell you your payout before first discovery, as well as some statistics about it, such as star type, planet type, so this one's super common in rocky bodies and F-type stars, as well as gravity, distance from the main star, temperature, pressure, all that stuff. The most important stuff here is really going to be your stars, your bodies, and then your atmospheric types. And it lists out every single thing, also including color. This is the sector that the bubble's in, the one that's highlighted red right now. So I'd recommend just looking for stuff inside that area. If we try to find Tentaconus, Humus is also really good. Only happens in rocky bodies in, what is this? Yeah, but also a good option. A little bit less than the Tentaconus, but still good chunk of change, especially with the first discovery bonus. You make some good amount of money. Here's Tentaconus. So Tentaconus really appears pretty much everywhere. Really common in thin sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and ammonia. Happens pretty much only on high metal worlds and most commonly in F-types. So if you really, really wanted to be specific, you only have on your filters F-type stars, and then only look for high metals. If you really want to do that, but thing is, like if we scroll down a little bit, different colors spawn differently. So this one's an M-types. So yeah, if you really want to do one color, you can, but honestly, really wouldn't recommend it. Just keep it to KGB foam. You'll have a pretty good time. All right. Other with that, let's do the delete. Yeah, Deep Space Network, EDDSN. Exobiology Flora. This has an image and some other statistics pretty similar to the Canon website about every single type of biotype. So if we go to Stratum again, plants with thin atmosphere, rocky or high metal content. But if we want to go down to and it gives images of what each one looks like. So if you are having trouble finding a bio, you can go to this website and see good images of each one to get an idea of what they look like. Those are my main 3 tools for you, though. Thank you so much for watching this guide. Hopefully it helped. If you have any other questions, feel free to throw them in the comments. I'll try to answer as many as I can. If you are an experienced exobiologist, feel free to throw any other additional tips in the comment section as well. Thanks so much.